Okay, good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, good morning, whichever time zone you are joining this webinar from. And welcome to tonight's webinar on the topic of how training helps you avoid mistakes in field missions. If you are familiar with the Q&A function of Zoom, or even if you're not, I would like you to get familiar with it and just let me know if you can see us and hear us fine in the Q&A function. Yes, thank you. Okay, then I would just like to thank you for the feedback. And you can also just use this Q&A function to ask questions. At the end, there'll be a short Q&A session, so we'll get to them then. And I would just like to add that this webinar is built on feedback we received from you. Today, you get practice, 2 mission cases, a live Genie demo, and immediate techniques to put into practice. But first, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Max. I'm the course coordinator at ICEUR Vienna. And I will hand over now to our field-tested experts, so to speak, Doris and Hans-Georg.
Doris, my colleague Doris Vogel, is a real incredible personality. I thought I had seen quite a bit of the world, but if you look at Doris' background and especially the geographic coverage, the experience she has, you wouldn't believe it. A lot of people who go places and travel all the time can report something, can tell us something. But in many cases, these people don't even know where they are, where they're where. With Doris, it's the other way around, exactly the other way around, because wherever she goes, she has a mission, whether it's a formal mission, serving in a field presence of a bigger or smaller organization, including the NGOs, or whether she does humanitarian work. She's done all that, and she really can report on how missions work bottom up. If there's somebody who can do it, it's Doris. Let me just briefly mention her geographic coverage. She knows the Caucasus from various missions. She knows the Ukraine. And I would like to add, she's really been in dangerous places, and Luhansk, the runaway, one of the runaway regions, this is Kiev, parlance, one of the runaway regions, Luhansk region, she will give you a few examples, including what happened there. And tell us a lot more during the course. She also has been to Africa, Mali. She's been to Cambodia, and last but not least, to Afghanistan. So if you not are impressed by now, I don't know. Hopefully, I have not forgotten any geographic region, but this is a long list, so I'm apt to forget something. So please, I hand over to my colleague Doris Vogel.
Yeah, thank you, George, for this rather flattering introduction. So it is my turn now to introduce your professional bio. Well, I see George, that's how I call Hans-Georg. I see George as a top class, highly accomplished academic, carrying a juicy professor title. And he can draw on the experience of heading the political science department at Vienna University. And after having retired, he started also leading ICEUR, an analytical center, and has been acting until today as vice president for ICEUR. But apart from these academic qualities, he, like myself, also spent several years in missions. And just to name the locations where he has been serving as mission member and analyst: Cambodia, Georgia, Serbia, and Chechnya. And there might be some other places which I cannot recall currently. In a nutshell, George is definitely offering a well-rounded professional profile. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the webinar. So what you'll gain from tonight's webinar, like I already mentioned, there'll be this webinar is designed to equip you with practical tools that international organizations rely on in high-stakes environments. So tonight you'll walk away with concrete skills and clarity on how to advance your career in crisis analysis and field operations. We'll share some breakdowns, or not me, but mostly Professor Heinrich and Dr. Vogel will share breakdowns of real missions. We'll show you a short demo of the software used for analysis, which is Genie 5.0, a statistics software, and just some basic crucial skills for active missions. And of course, you'll be able to ask questions at the end. And now that we've introduced ourselves, I would like to ask you for short introductions of yourselves. So maybe if you could state the country that you reside in or that you're working in, your professional profile, that if you're in diplomacy or analysis or in the humanitarian or security sector, and if you want to share that, also your current main challenge that you face in an unstable environment. So we get an idea of who is attending this webinar. You can simply type it into the Q&A function. If you can't find it, it's in the bottom part of the Zoom webinar window.
Yeah, just to add, we are eager to get some feedback from your side. Thank you.
Okay, in the meantime, we'll move on. So the goal of this, oh yeah, from Portugal. Cool. In the meantime, we'll move on. So the goal of the course is simple. We want to help you become the kind of specialists international missions rely on. People who can assess risks, act under uncertainty, and support decision makers with clear, structured analysis. And now I'll hand over to Doris, back to Doris, for some concrete examples from her long experience working in the field. Doris, please.
Sorry, I had to unmute. You're meaning common mission shortcomings?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I have prepared a sequence for that. So thank you, Max. And as I can see, it's my turn now to outline a few shortcomings that are quite common in mission life. So in international missions, may it be OSCE, CSTP, or UN, when showing the flag on the territory of a host country, no matter which host country, you will in most cases find a permanent record of non-achieved mission goals or roadmaps that got somehow stuck. So why is that so? First of all, you often got a structural problem centered on the mission mandate or the mission strategy. This means, in essence, that the real situation in the field does not comply with the ground-laying documents of a mission. And I want to give you some examples. The mission mandate might be, mostly for political reasons, over-ambitious, as it is the case, for example, for the monitoring mandate of EUMM, the monitoring mission to Georgia, a CSDP mission under European Union umbrella. From the very beginning, actually in the year 2008, September 2008, the departure point of the EUMM mandate was monitoring on both sides of the conflict line. But as a matter of fact, already for several years, the actual monitoring activity of this monitoring mission has been limited to the side of Georgian controlled territory, whereas on the other side, namely South Ossetia and Abkhazia, this side has always remained closed for EUMM. Therefore, what we see in this case is a major contradiction between mission mandate on the one hand and the actual field situation on the other hand. And this from the very beginning of the mission. I want to give you now a second example where not the mandate, but the mission strategy could not be realized. The talk is about the EU capacity building mission in Mali, West Africa. The strategic goal of this mission was capacity building of police forces in Mali. Actually, in Mali, the talk is about gendarmerie. And part of the mission strategy concerned reforming the entrance exams for the police academy, l'Académie de la Gendarmerie. But during and after the entrance exams, the Malian police academy staff simply refused to cooperate with the mission. There was absolutely no transparency why some candidates were accepted into the police force after the exams, while other candidates failed the entrance exams. And actually, it took the mission members in charge a few weeks until they understood that corruption in the ranks of the police academy was so deeply rooted that it appeared impossible to change the recruitment procedure, let's say, within the coming 1 or 2 years. So those two examples I just presented pointed at structural problems in connection with the mission mandate, Georgia, and the mission strategy, Mali. But let us now turn to another reason for common shortcomings, namely the time dimension. What can be observed in this regard is as such. quite often the speed of decision-taking in a mission situation is lacking behind the dynamics on the ground. And this has nothing to do about misinterpretation of events or the lack of analytical skills among mission members. It is just about the usual speed within a longer, comprehensive chain of command, or about a delayed emergency meeting at Brussels, or may it be Vienna or New York, crisis response centers. And unfortunately, we often enough witness such scenarios where the security situation in a host country is escalating within a few days or even a couple of hours without prior warning signals. By the way, George is going to illustrate this difficulty of limited timeframes for decision-making with a real-life case in a minute. But before handing over to George, I would like to add a third reason for shortcomings in mission outputs, namely reporting. Yeah, reporting that does not reflect realities on the ground, but is oriented towards roadmaps, benchmarks, and output expectations. And to put it in less academic terms, wishful thinking of mission members, but mission members under performance pressure. And this kind of trap creates quite often shortcomings. And this again plays a major role in peace missions, particularly peace missions with a strong focus on post-conflict reconstruction or reconciliation initiatives. The project goals are ambitious, but local actors in the field are quite reluctant or even unwilling to shift from war mode back to normal, peaceful life. So I just presented in short 3 different strings of underlying reasons for mission shortcomings. And by having done so, I'm now handing over to my colleague. I think it's you, George, now, who is going to present the next slide, yes?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay. Here, the most important notion is, of course, uncertainty. And as uncertainty is all around the place in our own lives, but at a wholly different scale in mission situations, in the typical mission situations. And somehow one has to adapt to this new situation, especially if you come from a country like Doris and me did, where everything kind of is okay, it functions. Well, there is some uncertainty. We don't know what the weather would be tomorrow and all these things. But in a mission, there is so much uncertainty that you have to find ways how to deal with it. So we're today going to talk, and this is actually my field in the framework of this webinar. We're proposing tools to evaluate incomplete intel, especially the software Genie 5.0. Don't worry, I'll explain in greater detail what this is about. This is also applicable to the predictive frameworks. It helps in prediction. VIZ forecasting, probable events, and Doris will specifically deal with how to prepare reports, because reports are the daily bread of the missions, all kinds of reports. And Doris, I think, has written and supervised millions of reports. I have done that too. So both of us are willing to show you around the barn, okay? Because you have an advantage if you know beforehand, before you enter a mission, what is expected from you. And as your time is limited in the mission, it's probably a good idea to be prepared. So please let us go on. Back to Doris.
Okay, I can see. This is for me, yeah, the case study. Well, as you can see from the slide, you see a picture. It's quite obvious that the location of this picture is Afghanistan due to the light blue burqa a lady is wearing. And I will now present a case where the gender aspect may be regarded as the focus issue. Actually, the gender sensitivity question is a cross-cutting issue like the security issue. And I will talk more about gender sensitivity in the field when presenting several scenarios in the lectures to come. So serving as a mission member in a foreign country means being constantly confronted with gender constellations that might be quite different from your own society. So let's take an example where the mission goals failed, mainly due to local traditional gender roles not complying with the mission goals. And for doing so, we have to go back more than 10 years and take a look at Western mission activities in Afghanistan. So let's go back to the period 2011 until 2013. At that time, you had the mission headquarters of 3 large missions located in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, the NATO mission ISAF, UNAMA under the UN umbrella, and the EU Police Advisory Mission. The official target at that time was to create a female police department within Afghan police forces. And all 3 missions cooperated in this regard. So it was not only the mission goal of one single mission, yeah. And at that time, recruitment and training of Afghan females was already ongoing when I served as the deputy head of the Human Rights Department within the EU Police Advisory Mission in Afghanistan. In the beginning, I was not directly involved in the project of building up female police units, but it didn't take long until I realized that something went wrong. First of all, the women following the police training, those I met and I could observe, they didn't signal any motivation to fulfill police duties outside the police office. And quite the opposite, those female students appear to have absolutely no clear picture at all of their professional responsibilities vis-a-vis society, Afghan society. communities, like a district community or a village community. Secondly, just from small talk with Afghan colleagues, female as well as male colleagues, I found out that the reputation of those female police officers was surprisingly, actually shockingly negative. And they were more or less considered as prostitutes with regular salary. So quite shocking, in fact. And if the social status of female police officers was considered that low, even in the urban environment of the capital, Kabul, so I thought, how about the even much more conservative-oriented countryside regions? What followed? An outline service was sent out to the provinces, namely to the few female police officers already in office. They were asked about their working conditions. And the feedback coming from the provinces revealed a pretty, I would say, disastrous picture. Most of the female respondents replied in this survey that they didn't even dare to wear their police uniform outside the police station. They were simply afraid to get attacked or even killed by male villagers on the way home. Of course, there were other negative feedbacks, but I just mentioned, like, for example, the treatment from the side of male police colleagues, but I leave that out for the time being. So what are the lessons learned? Obviously, Afghan society was far away from accepting women as police officers. And instead of playing an integrating role within local communities, those Afghan females already trained and employed within police ranks were heavily stigmatized and remained separated from their communities. What we see is that the purely Western perspective had more or less ignored the existing cultural parameters. The inclusion of females into Afghan security forces was designed as major democratization measure. But at that time, even 8 years before the Taliban took over power, at that time, a majority of the Afghan population was holding on to traditional gender settings and hence rejected females in uniform. So, end of the story, a complete failure. The local signals had not been taken into consideration. So, this has been the presentation of one case, and by that I would hand over to the next speaker. I don't know, either Max or George. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's my turn. I think you realize it. I think it's my turn. I think you realize that here we are trying to cut long stories short, and we'll continue exactly in this way because we realize that especially for our colleagues or listeners or users farther to the east, it's already getting very late, and we do not to abuse your patience. So I start with the picture. The picture shows the Ibar River and the bridge over this river, which links the Serbian, the northern part of Mitrovica, border settlement of sorts, to the southern Albanian part. Okay. Although a lot of time has already passed since I served in the Belgrade mission of the OSCE, I have a specific reason why I dug this out from my memory. You might ask, why does this guy tell us stories from the Stone Age? No, it's no Stone Age story. It's very actual, because problems with this bridge happen quite frequently. Okay. This has to do, I don't have to explain the background in great detail, but it obviously has to do with the different aspects of recognition, the different position, different posts that Serbia and Kosovo had. Okay, but anyway, there are problematic gatherings, protests, and so on, many politically steered and organized. And at that time, we quite frequently crossed the bridge into Kosovo. And then you always had to ask, is the bridge free or not? So the trick behind triangulation is that you have to carefully sift and consider different sources of information. In this case, it was radio intercepts, it was reports by local police officers, and importantly, what our local fixer told us. The local fixer is a person who is integrated into the society of the host country, speaks our language, and is supposed to fix problems. Okay, but most importantly, in most cases, the information given by the movement or the conduct of the local population is decisive. You just observe. Do the people normally cross the street, across the bridge, or is this not the case? This would be a strong indication that something's cooking, something is brewing, and therefore you should be extremely careful in taking the decision, wait or go. Okay, so that's the long story, cut short, and I would like to go on. Thanks. Yes. Now this is my core contribution, at least for today. What is Gini 5.0? And I added this maybe somewhat mysterious subtitle, Calculating Without Math. What we're talking about is a tool that has existed since around 2000, developed by US mathematicians and IT specialists. And it is about modeling. It helps you modeling conditional probabilities and outcomes. Okay? So you never know what's going to happen. Therefore, it's a more or less formalized way to deal with uncertainties, right? So for every decision you take, there are certain elements in the situation which you have to consider, to take into account. But you don't, in most cases, you don't know exactly what these conditions are. Will they come? Will they not come? You just assume, okay? So you put in the degree of belief, what you think will happen. And you get, if you apply this to Gini 5.0, a full-fledged probability distribution in the end. So that's the real magic. The real magic is that you don't have to be a PhD guy or a super wizard in IT. The math is under the hood. You just have to have a rough understanding of what is going on under the hood. And I would like to add, missions have started to use it. What you see today is two quick examples to give you a live impression. So I will open Genie 5.0 and start with a more simple example. Namely, let me explain. This is about compliance and specifically about delivering weapons. In mission parlance, you talk about DDR, which is disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. So disarmament after a conflict, after an unarmed conflict, is always a big problem. Yes, here we are. This is the model which I've built on the basis of this previous information. So it's about delivering arms. Okay, I will not go deeper into all that. So all these are conditions which I assume to be linked to compliance. Okay, you start out with your degree of belief, what compliance will be, what degree, and of course in post-conflict situations, the degree of expected compliance will be relatively low. There is one counterexample, which is the mission to Sierra Leone, where everything moved just almost perfectly. But in most cases, you will have a problem. So what we do here is, I have to explain number of samples. You need a measuring tool. How do you measure the decommissioning of arms, the handover of it? Well, you just have to observe, right? If you can do this in 5 locations or 5 times a month, or you can do it 10 times. Okay, so the other conditions we assume will have an influence on compliance. Okay, so we try in our instrument 5 samples. We take 5 samples just by observing what is going on or by visiting certain locations. Then we assume we have increasing tensions, and that's linked to external players who don't like the peace process, and we have no reward systems in place, right? So what happens is that the expected or the probable compliance is very low. It looks different if we take 10 samples. If we have, say, no tensions, if the reward system is in place. Sorry, we have to do this, clear the evidence. So we have 10, we have no tensions, we have a reward system in place, and we have low pressure by external forces, and all of a sudden you have a high compliance. So this is how it works, and it's just one specific case where it can be, where the tool can be applied. It works all across the board. Let me just briefly show you my second example, which is more complicated. You can immediately see it. It's about mine clearance. Let me just show you. It's a little more complicated because I use equation nodes. which don't demand, again, calculus. You don't have to be a mathematician. It's relatively easy to handle. But let us assume terrain difficulty is low, mine density is low, weather is good, you have full mechanical support, and an experienced team. So what would you expect? Exactly. You would expect a high degree of success. And all that changes. And this is why I was talking about math under the hood. This changes according to the conditions you define. Now, last sentence, or last but one, this is a tool. And the tool doesn't tell you what nodes, these are called nodes, what nodes to select and how to define them. This is brainware. It is your own effort. You have to understand the situation, okay? But what it does, it is apt to reduce uncertainty. Now, if you want to have greater details, if you want to learn how to model specific situations, just sign up for our course and we'll be happy to explain. Okay, we go on. Max?
Yes. Back to the presentation. And
yeah, we had Zini 5.0.
Moving on. So
the
let me just check if there are still two. No, this is the only screen share. I'm sorry. The technical side of things. So the course Hans-Georg mentioned, which we offer. So this was all just an overview of what we offer in our course, where we go really in depth on all of these topics, on methods, on skills, on practices, on protocols, and of course on how to use the program efficiently in the field. The program being Genie 5.0 that you just saw. And this course that we're speaking of is it's a hybrid course of live online sessions and recorded sessions. And it will begin with a live session on January 7th in the evening. And it will consist of 7 modules covering 7 areas, 7 important topics for working in the field in crisis areas. But Professor Heinrich, Hans-Georg will tell you more on that in the next slides. And the course format, like I said, will consist of live sessions and recorded sessions and assignments provided in between. And live sessions will be recorded, of course, as well. So you can watch them and complete the assignments at your own convenience. And the time commitment spans from around 4 to 5 hours per week, since it is designed for working professionals to not overburden you with work and lectures, but to be able to be completable alongside your work. And so what I'm saying is this isn't a passive video course. This isn't just watching lectures on YouTube, but you'll get to engage with our experts, with us. You'll get feedback. You can ask questions and you'll get answers within short periods of time. You can interact with each other in chats, in forums. And this is the next point I want to drive home that, I'm sorry, first I'll hand over to Professor Heinrich to explain the modules of the course.
Okay, I don't think I have to add a lot of comments on that, pretty much self-explaining, but let me say one general thing, okay? What we would like to put across in this course is that it makes sense to have some previous information. we understand there's a lot of material all around the place, internet, IT, and so on and so forth. But I think nothing can help you more than life experience. So before we went to the mission jobs, we had no idea. We were briefly instructed by the various organizations, which was fine, very good. But both of us, I think Doris will agree, had the feeling that in spite of what we already knew in theory, we were not too well prepared. We're talking about uncertainty. Missions are uncertain. So there is no perfect preparation for mission life. You have to be aware of the fact that a lot of unexpected things may happen, right? But what we can put across is that how you can prepare to reduce this uncertainty and to avoid unwelcome surprises. We will talk about high-risk environments. We'll try to define what high-risk environments mean. They are not all the same, of course. You have to imagine that no mission is like the other one, right? You will face different challenges. All this will be dealt with in this part. Reporting and local knowledge. We already stressed the fact reporting is the daily life. You wake up in the morning, think of your report, you go to bed in the evening after all these mission conferences and already think about what you have to deliver the other day. Local knowledge, very important. The question, whom should we trust? Whether you get the necessary information from, crisis response, unpredictability. Yes, of course, we are trying to put across to teach you how to reduce this unpredictability a little, at least. I think it will help. So can we go on? Yes, right. Self-assessment for foresight. Well, this is something you shouldn't miss out. You shouldn't believe that you already know the game. Even if you are a seasoned mission worker. As I try to stress, no mission is the same. We experienced that. I think Doris can talk for hours and days how different missions can be. And it is very important to learn about your cognitive biases. Also, it's important if you enter a mission, okay, and you know a lot of things, please be cautious in selling your own knowledge, right? Organizations want to be educated. And mission members, especially seasoned mission members, they are the keepers of the tribal memory, if you will. So if you act against the tribal memory by saying, okay, I have this wonderful tool and get out of here, everything new, no, this is not the way it works. You have to be very careful, and we'll teach you, instruct you in using the Bayesian modeling tool. And that has also a second reason, because it can be relatively easily explained to other people. You have to imagine the situation that two classes of people you will meet. The one will say, wow, this guy can, I told you about this, right? this guy can produce, or this person can predict the future. No, you can't. Of course not. And the people will say, no, it's impossible to calculate human behavior. Well, to a certain extent, you can, obviously, right? So, mandate and mission strategy. The mandate is a red line. If you have some function, a specific function, not just pure rank and file mission member, but you are an officer, you're in the field, you have to develop programs, you act kind of independently, then you have to understand the mandate. But technology integration, we have already talked. This is not only Genie, but this is the main produce or product we try to recommend for use. Okay, can we on? Next. Yes. Yeah, the final deliverables. This is coursework, but it's not like a normal course where you get or don't get grades, pass, fail, or whatever. But we would like to ask you to delve into that subject matter and to deepen your knowledge by active self-teaching. First of all, okay, you try to put up your model, and then we will, of course, interact and tell you what can be done, what should be done in a different way, and so on. The same with mission briefing. We would like to ask you to produce, as an outcome of your study, a model. Okay. If you refuse to work with the Genie 5.0 perfect, then try to establish or to create a model based on qualitative logical relationships. This is Bayesian reasoning as well. But very importantly, we will supply you with a specimen, not the original specimen, but templates of mission reports. Okay, so on the basis of these templates, we would like to ask you to, as a mission, as a assignment, a course assignment, to produce reports. And we'll talk about that. By the end of the course, we'll have that. We'll coordinate, we'll help, and the class assignments would also be a precondition for the certificate. I think Max will briefly also talk about the certificate. The field toolkit is the material we will put at your disposal, like those templates, like more information, more material on Genie 5.0, how to build. There is a manual. You will get extracts from the manual, so you have something to look at and something to work with. Okay? So these are ready-to-use materials, which does not mean you have to immediately apply them to your mission work. Okay? But if they help, if they support your process of integrating into a mission, we're just happy. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, so this is what I was getting at earlier, that I would just like to direct your attention to the Q&A section, where a lot of people have stated their professions and their area of expertise.
Yes, Max, let's go on. Better to go on to have enough time for the Q&A session. This is my proposal.
Yeah, of course. Yes,
and I would just like to add 2 sentences, what George just said about assignments. What does this mean in practice, for example, for reporting? I would ask you to do a spot report or to do a special report on specific scenarios, you send them to me and I'm going to correct them and give you feedback. Yeah, I'm handing over again.
So yeah, the point I wanted to drive
Okay.
home is that
Next slide.
you will be in great company to exchange experiences, exchange feedback, and network, basically. So moving on. This course is directed and designed for all kinds of people, for students and people early in the career to enhance their portfolio and use the certificate gained from this upon completion of this course to apply for work. And it is directed to foreign service personnel to increase reporting, to make it clearer and to create greater, better models, to analysts, to humanitarian staff, and to security analysts. So yeah, we are moving on. So yeah, this is what you'll receive. I don't know if this has been mentioned before, but we operate under the auspices of the Austrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this will also be stated on the certificate you receive upon completion. So once completed, you will receive this certificate with your name on it, and it can open doors to NGOs, to diplomatic services and foreign ministries, consulting agencies, and research institutions.
Yes, we already have
We have a question. We have a question. I'll allow you to talk.
Khalid, so okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jamil Maqsood. I am based in Brussels, and I am working as a human rights defender affiliated with an NGO that has ECOSOC status within the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, and I have been lobbying for the human rights, promotion and protection of fundamental rights in Pakistan and Pakistani administrated part of Jammu and Kashmir. And my intention and interest is to join this course from the platform of NGO. How it would be possible, sir? Thank you.
Yes, I will get to that. Thank you for the question. This leads me to the next slide. So thank you for this cue card, so to speak. Moving on to the investment, and to the two different tiers that you can book in this course. So as you can see here, there are two tiers. There's a standard tier, the standard package, and a VIP package. And you can also see the prices and everything that is included. So the standard tier includes all 7 modules, plus 2 live Q&A sessions, access to Genie 5.0, the program we showed you during the course, analytical toolkit materials, feedback on your assignments from Doris and Hans-Georg, and the certificate I just talked about, and of course, access to the network of alumni of this course. And then there's the VIP package, which includes everything I just mentioned, plus a 1-year access, 1-year extended Genie access to the program, priority assignment review. So we'll get back to you within a day. You will receive feedback immediately. 2 one-on-one sessions with instructors via Zoom, and an advanced case study library, and also career guidance for mission deployment tailored to you, so for specific questions. And we are offering a discount for students, a 50% discount for students in general, but we are also offering a discount which will be valid for the next 7 days, as you can see here, from the original prices. So the standard price, instead of 600, will for 1 week be 499, and the VIP package will cost you for the next week, not $900, but euro, but 749. And moving on to more details. I forgot to mention, you can also pay with a payment plan and split your payment in two payments, if that is an option you would like to take. And additionally to that, we have, if you join within 48 hours, you will receive a Genie follow-up course with 3 sessions, 3 workshops, probably in March, exclusive access to Genie for 1 year, and exclusive access to an extensive case library, with a combined worth of €500. And yes, I can see we have another question by Jamil. I will unmute you.
We had Jamil Maksoud first, I think.
Yes.
Because we didn't answer Jamil's question. Okay.
No, I think we did, but that's all from
I think
me.
we have to show the last. We have to show the last slide.
Yeah, if you have to leave early or something.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Scan the QR code.
Here we go.
And we'll move on to the Q&A session. So you can just type your question you have for Doris or Hans-Georg or that course in general into the Q&A window, or just raise your hand and ask the question yourself.
Yeah. Okay, Jamil, I take it you're Arab. You speak Arabic?
No, I speak English.
I'm sorry.
Fluently.
Yeah. Okay.
I speak English fluently.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it's about NGO missions. First of all, there are a preferred way to enter missions in international organizations. In most cases, this is what I try to put across to my students at university who were interested in mission work. I told them, forget UN, forget OSCE, unless you have an uncle in UN, or you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't have that, if you just feel qualified, and if you have the ambition, that's important. And if you have the readiness to deal with wholly different situations than back in Vienna or whatever, then try to enter a mission, an NGO mission first. Okay, you will not get a lot of money. Maybe if you're a student or somebody who's just finished his studies, you must face the possibility that you will get no money. Okay, you will get transport to your location, and you will be fed, and you will be taught, and that's it. But that helps, because Doris will can tell a little more about the process, because if you write or do submissions for to become mission member, right? Either you need a secondment by a home country, foreign ministry, or you have to produce a certain period of mission experience, right? Usually 5 to 10 years. Now, which young student can really boast to have, after studies, to have such a long period of experience in mission? Nobody. So the best way is to try to enter an NGO.
Yes, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I would like to shift to another aspect. I mean, I started at the NGO level, yes, like Cambodia or also the Caucasus. And it took me some time to get into UN, EU missions or OSCE missions. Yes, it took time. But there is one issue I would like to underline, where I think that this particular training, our lecture series, is rather useful for NGO workers, namely, when I was with NGO environment, nobody gave a shit about my security, or let's put it that way. There was no security officer within that NGO, because usually an NGO has to cope with a rather tight budget, and there is simply no money for security experts. And so I remember how surprised I was when I entered the first CSDP mission, and suddenly I had to follow highly regulated security instructions, and I had to meet with the senior security officer, with the junior security officer. So our trainings here, they are tailored in a way that your senses get sharpened also in regard to security issues, so that you do not have to wait for a senior security officer, yes? Because particularly in NGO environment, this position quite often is staying void, is not filled for budgetary reasons. Yeah, this was my input.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for the question, Jamil. Do we have any further questions? Like I said, you can raise your hand, you can type it into the Q&A window. Okay, it looks like we've exhausted the topic. So if there are no further questions, I would just like to thank everybody who took part, and also our lecturers, Doris and Hans-Georg, for taking part in this webinar, for presenting this webinar, and for telling us about your missions abroad. And I would like to also repeat that if you book the course within 7 days, you will receive the discount. And if you're a student, you can apply for a 50% discount on the course. And the link is up, and we'll leave it up for another 10-15 minutes for you to scan, and you can just go and have a look at the website and get acquainted with it. And after you purchase, you will get an confirmation email from us, and then you will get access to the student area, where we will provide you with a link to the forum or the group chat of the participants of the course, the first modules and the first lectures already available to you, and a reminder for the start date, so you can already get started ahead of January 7th. And with that, if there are no further questions, this is it from our side. Thank you again for taking part, and see you on the course. Good night.
That's okay. I'm afraid we have exhausted not only the questions and the topics, but we have also exhausted you. We're well aware of the fact that we have started at a very late time point. So we certainly did not plan this webinar to give you a first taste of different situations, okay? It had technical reasons, so we ask your indulgence for this late time point, and we wish you a good night, and we sincerely hope to see you in our courses. Boris?
Yes, I will keep myself short. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to welcome some of you, many of you, in the lectures to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.